Judge William Cruz Shaw. Let me cut your mic up on here for you.
What's going on, Ron? How you doing, man?
Oh man, I'm doing good, man. I see that you blessing us with your presence today.
Oh, it's a blessing to be here, man. Always.
I was reading up on your bio. First of all, I met you before a long time ago. I've really met you again at the 100 Men, Black Men.
Right.
You were there, and I thought that was. I said, okay. I said we got to have this guy on the show. We got to have him on the show. But when I was reading your bio, I knew you was a judge.
Uh-huh.
I did not know for what district. And when I started reading it, you take care of the juvenile, right?
Correct. Correct.
I know that's a handful by itself, isn't it?
Absolutely, man. Every day is something new.
Yeah. Before we get into that, I want to go back to we have a listener on here, and he's from the Navy too.
Okay.
And you were in the Navy. Were you ever stationed up in Great Lake Naval Base?
I was never stationed, but I went there for boot camp.
Okay, see, that's my neck of the woods. That's where I'm from, North Chicago, Waukegan, Zion, Illinois.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
so were you stationed up there in the harsh wintertime?
I was there in October.
Oh, well, it was all right. You were there for the fall.
Man, I'm from Houston, Texas. That was winter to me.
You know, up north, we call it, when I first moved here in Texas, it was 50 degrees. People walking around here in Navy peacoats and everything.
Yeah.
Up there, that's summer for us.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
And I seen that, and I said, I definitely got to bring that up because it was definitely a culture shock, wasn't
Yeah, marching in the snow, that's just not my thing, man.
it?
That's not my thing. I can take heat or humidity any day of the week. That snow, it just wasn't my thing.
Yeah. So, over I noticed I was reading your Bible on how much you have contributed to the city of San Antonio, um,
Mhm.
being with Sage, and Sage was the one that I went to when I first want to start my nonprofit and to start this radio station on what I need to do. So
Right.
I reached out to Sage, and they reached back to me. To this day, we talk back and forth on everything.
Good.
And
Good.
so we reached out to them and put a plug in for WSN Radio. We got us a building at Barbara Jordan Community Center.
I heard. Congrats.
Yes, our
Congrats.
office is going to be moved down there. So that's one thing we want to do is give back to the community.
Okay, good.
We'll
Good,
put
good.
that plug in for WSN Radio. But I was reading your bio on things that you do. You have done a lot for the city, and I'd like to recognize you and say congratulations and thank you for the things that you're doing and continue to do, because
Thank you.
they think that you're just judge up there and you're not doing nothing else,
Right, right.
which is false. It's completely false, So some of the things you're doing, I commend you on, and just keep on doing what you're doing.
I appreciate that, man. I really do. Thank you.
Yeah. So I want to get into the juvenile part of this because we know about it. The things that really gets under my skin is when they are in court for something that they did, and then some of the parents say he's such a good boy. Then why is he out? Why is he out at 2 o'clock in the morning?
Right, right.
And that really, I don't know what to say about that. Parenting. Does some of this you think involves when the juveniles are out there loose like that? Is it parents or
Yeah, man.
misguided or what is it?
It's just a different way of thinking, a different way of parenting. Um, what we're seeing is younger parents, they may be 14, 15 years older than their child. At that time, they want to be friends with their child. And as they grow, they want to start disciplining their child. But 14, 15 is too late, man. They've already caught stuck in their ways. They're hanging around the wrong crowd. And so it's a lot that comes into play. But parenting definitely is a huge component of these kids coming into juvenile detention. But I will say, we have some families that come in and they're super supportive. They're great parents. That child just went down the wrong path, and that's the path they chose. So it's not all of them, but I would say a large percentage of them. Um, the parents have no clue how to handle their child.
Yeah, I will go on to say, for the neck and woods where I'm from, um, gangs. When they get influenced by gangs because the gangs show them love.
Yeah.
And if you show the love at home, they don't need to seek love anywhere else.
Right.
Like I told my kids growing up, I said, if anybody come approach you, want to be in the gang, you tell me you're already in the gang. I said,
Yeah.
you in the Gordon gang. You
Right.
all the love right here. You don't need to go outside and seek that. So I raised my kids with a stern fist
Yeah.
to let them know. And now all three of them out there successful.
Good, man. Congrats. That's yeah, that's an honor, man. Congrats.
Yeah, and being a single parent at the time
Mhm.
too, it was a lot thrown my way, which
Right.
what goes to what is percentage that you would think that some of the kids out there with single parents with no father in the house.
I mean, 70, 70. And I would go a little bit further. Grandparents are now raising their grandchildren.
Yeah,
Times we're not even seeing the parents, we're seeing grandparents, we're seeing aunts and uncles. Um, but a lot, and sometimes both parents do show up, but they're not together. So it's kind of like, I need you to show up to court today. I was okay, they show up. Um, man, there's just so many moving parts, so many different variables that come into play dealing with these kids. But I would argue that a large percentage of them do not come from a two-parent household.
okay. So the kids that come before you in court, um, are these misdemeanors
Mhm.
or it's just misdemeanors, nothing?
No, there's misdemeanors. So on the juvenile side, we handle all the cases. So it's misdemeanors all the way up to capital felonies.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we hear the capital murders all the way down to trespassing.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is pretty low down there, but we hear all those type of cases.
And I will say that some of them that you scare straight and you don't see them again. Is that right?
Yeah, I guess some of them get it. Some of them get it. The way I talk with families and the kids that come before us is just the way I talk to anybody. I'm pretty stern, but after that discussion and then maybe some time in detention, they don't want to come back. And those are the ones, like, I don't know their names, which I shouldn't have to know your name. That's a good thing. If I
Yeah.
know your name, that means I see you over and over again.
And you know their name coming in. What do you do this time?
Yes,
Yeah.
man, just do the right thing because you are not good at committing crimes. I keep seeing you here. You get caught every time. Pick a different hobby. This is definitely not working for
Hey,
you.
I'm glad you brought that up. Um, I was making a joke one time on the air. What I said, do people know there's cameras everywhere?
Right,
There's cameras everywhere. I said, you need to go to school to become a crook because
right.
they see you everywhere. And then they get on camera. It looks like me, but that's not me. Dude, that's you.
Yeah,
And
the tattoo on your neck with your name on it. I think that's you.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And so they don't realize all this is going on. I had an incident over the house a while back where I got cameras, just doing that because somebody kept on trying to break into the bed of my truck, and I put cameras up and it stopped instantly.
Right.
But we got people down the street that was robbed one time, and just so happened my camera was facing down there, and I caught everything.
Yeah.
I caught everything. The neighbor came and asked me. I looked at all that, and I gave him a copy of it. I said, "Here you go." You
There are
know,
cameras everywhere, man. Everywhere.
and I don't get it. What are they? And then someone would look dead at the camera and then take the camera down. It's too
Correct.
late.
Yeah. It's already recorded. We got you.
Yeah, yeah.
We got you.
One thing I want your comment on, speaking about juveniles, the incident that happened in Virginia with that 6-year-old shooting that teacher.
Right.
That is the youngest that I heard
Right.
of something like that. So a case like that is, I want to know where the parents were at, how to get hold of the gun. It's a lot of questions there that we're still not getting answers to. And I understand it's a juvenile, you can't do nothing about it. But what they did put out, they said if he's convicted, he would stay in juvenile detention until the age 14, and then he'll move to adult jail. So
Hmm.
how does Texas vary with that if a juvenile and they're there for the length of time in juvenile, then go to adult prison?
So the youngest that we can handle in juvenile is 10. So we handle between 10 and 17. It's the understanding that because you're still innocent until proven guilty on the juvenile side. That's always going to exist. And you still have to be able to articulate with your defense counsel on different strategies, theories of the case. 6-year-olds doesn't have that ability. So it's almost like being incompetent. Like they don't understand the dynamics of a courtroom, of putting up a proper defense. So we don't have that ability. Now, once they're 10 years old and higher or older, if they commit a serious crime, we have an option that's called CNT, which is certified and transfer. So there's certain things that the state has to prove up. And if they do prove that up, our courts have the ability to send them to the adult side. And then if they're sentenced on the adult side, they go to juvenile until their day before their 19th birthday, then they ship out to adult. But they also have the ability to parole at that time too. So they'll come back before the court, have a parole hearing, and depending on what the judge does, the judge can send them to TDC or allow them to go back into the community on parole.
Does it depend on the heinous of the crime? Because if they're sentenced to 5 years, let's say, and they're 15 years old, and 5, so they'll be 20 by that time. But before they get transferred, because say once they reach 19,
the day before their 19th birthday.
So if they're going to be 20 and they got another year to serve, will that be the time they look at maybe probation? Without doing that?
Right. And we also have what's called a determinate sentence, which allows us to maintain control of that child past their 19th birthday. So those are for more serious cases too. So we can do a determinate sentence of prison time or probation, and maintain them. Once they turn 19, they'll go to the adult side, but on probation. It's just a transfer hearing.
So what in this case, being that young of age and they commit sexual acts, are they labeled I'm gonna use the word predator, that's the wrong thing to use. When they get out, do they have to let them know where they at all the time? I can't think of the word when they come out.
It depends. Okay. It's something that their attorneys can work out. Sometimes they don't have to register as a sex offender. Sometimes they do. Depends on the facts. Many of the facts that we see here are more of playing doctor. You don't get the more aggressive sexual assaults. No, we do get them at times, or they're intoxicated, either high or drunk, and then take advantage of somebody. We'll see those from time to time. But to answer your question, it's just going to depend on the nature of the offense and what the attorneys are able to work out.
Okay. Now, one thing that has been going around is the fentanyl. That has been a hot topic for probably the past year. And right. And I look at it, it does look like candy. And have you had any cases with kids dealing? No.
Yeah. More, not necessarily dealing, more using. Our time of smoking weed behind the gym, those days are gone. These kids are doing fentanyl, they're doing benzos, meth, heroin. It's just so many that the availability of drugs in our communities, in our schools, is so high right now. It's so easy to obtain these things, obtain guns, that they're doing it nonstop. And we see it all the time.
I do know one thing. I talk with our Joseph Lee. He deals with mental health. And he said the problem with going on right now, he holds up his cell phone and said, this is the issue right here with the kids nowadays.
Yeah.
Is this phone right here. You could instantly send things over there. And what the kids don't realize, if they take certain pictures of their body and ship it off, that's a crime by itself right there. By doing that. And the kids don't understand that. They think it's all like when I was growing up, we did pranks, having fun doing pranks. And some of the pranks I was thinking of that we did back in the days as kids is against the law right now.
Right.
But the kids, they don't seem to understand what they're doing, and they don't understand why. For instance, It's this one kid that was on a military base that sent a threatening thing out on the Snapchat or something, and they got hold of it and they arrested him, pulled his butt out of class, arrested him and everything, and told him he's going to do time and all that for a threat. You know what
Yeah.
he asked? Well, I'll be able to graduate with my class.
You know what? It's it's they're still kids. The impulse control isn't there. Their
Mhm.
brain hasn't completely formed. So, I've had situations where someone shoots somebody and then they'll come back and say, you know what, I'm sorry. I've learned my lesson. I've been here 2 weeks. I'm ready to go back home. Like, it doesn't work that way.
Wow.
Work that way. And to speak to your point, we're getting a lot more threats towards schools on social media, either on Facebook or Instagram, Snapchat, and people see that and they take a screenshot and report it. And we're getting a lot more of those than I've seen in the past.
And that's good because I really do believe the watershed moment for Texas and this nation was Uvalde.
Mm-hmm.
We had so many watershed moments that we said was a watershed moment, but it never materialized. But this one right here, it hit everybody close to home and everything. And I applaud for a parent. Matter of fact, there was a parent up in Dallas that turned his son in.
Yeah, I read that.
Yeah, she turned him in,
I
you
read
know.
that.
And some of it, if you look at it, some of these parents are scared to death of their own kids.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And I'm trying to figure out, where did that come from?
Yeah.
It's just like you said, they're not your friend.
Right.
Parents got to realize that you can't treat your kids like they're your friends.
Right. You got a parent.
Yeah.
Parent.
I have a couple of people that chimed in already. Somebody asked, have you ever had a day when you felt like just giving up?
No, I feel tired, but not giving up. Not giving up. I think it's important what we do here, and it's a balance. And it's important for me to be here because these kids need to see somebody that looks like them on this bench and understanding, but at the same time, I'm going to hold them accountable. So no, I wouldn't say that. I don't give up. That's just not in my vocabulary. I'll be miserable and still keep moving forward.
Yeah.
But at times I do get tired.
Yeah. I see you probably see some cases and it just boggles the mind
Yeah.
on the stuff that kids come up with. And what gets me is they think they invented it. This was done already.
Yeah.
I listen to kids sometimes. Well, I did this, did that. I said, that's not brand new.
Right.
I said, I I didn't reach this age without seeing things and doing things myself. So
Right.
they think
Yeah.
something is all brand new. I said, come on, give me a break. Like, for instance, I talked to a kid about 10 years ago. He was miserable what was going on. And I said, so what you gonna do? He said, man, I'm gonna get him back. I say, revenge is just gonna eat you away, it's gonna eat you up. He was talking some deadly stuff. So
Right.
I had no choice but to talk to his parents and let him take it from there.
Right. Right.
The kid opened up to me, and what he opened up to me, I said, oh no, I cannot let this, I
Yeah.
can't. So I talked to the parents about it, and they was unaware that he was feeling like that.
Yeah.
So
It's tough, especially for our young guys.
mhm,
Guys, they don't want to crack. Which is, I mean, we're the same way.
yeah.
We just didn't go down that chronological path, or go down that path too far where we couldn't come back.
Well, growing up, we had aunties and uncles that knock you upside your head. Boy, what you call yourself doing?
Yeah, call CPS if you want to. They can
Yeah.
watch. Yeah. Yeah.
Also, it leads in to this. We just talked about that. Do you have kids that come in there with mental health issues?
Oh yeah, a lot. We have a lot. And what's really difficult to grasp, especially on this side, is that a lot of majority of the families we see are low income, and they don't have the resources to address certain issues without using the juvenile justice system. So we have kids who have mental health issues, and then we can provide them services through probation But the problem is they have to commit a crime first. Those who have money or have certain resources, they don't have to come through the system. They can, provide health insurance to cover the counseling, therapy, rehabilitation. They can do that on their own without having to come down here. So it's very eye-opening. Like some families just need the help. And the first person to call is SAPD or the sheriff's department to come pick their kid up because they have no other resources, or they think they have no other resources. So yeah, we have a lot of mental health issues here.
So, but are there any resources out there besides being arrested? Is there any other resources?
There's tons of resources. There's tons of resources. There's certain institutions that will, sliding scale, insurance based. There's church assistance that's free of charge. I mean, there's a lot, and it can be overwhelming, but it does exist.
So the problem is when you get the word out for them.
Yes,
that's just it. Because a lot of people, there's a lot of things out there. I hate on Mondays when somebody said over the weekend, I didn't know that was there. I didn't know that was there. Nobody never told me. So part of it is, I would say a little bit of everybody's at fault for not getting information out there. I'm at fault. This is what this station is for, to let people know what's going on. And sometimes I have to dig to find out what's going on, and I shouldn't have to.
Yeah, it's tough. You're right. You're absolutely correct.
Yeah, some of that stuff is embedded there. It's almost like it's free, but nobody don't want you to know about it.
Yeah.
And that's the sad thing about that, because it's out there and they just don't understand.
When things are free, that means their budget is a lot thinner than we would hope. And so marketing, it probably takes on the back end because they have to pay for staff. So in order to get that, and the old school way of just handing out cards. But you're absolutely right. The resources are available. We just have to put that message out there.
And which is a tough message to put out. See, and a lot of people don't want to say that your kid's got mental illness.
Oh yeah.
That's another one. Say there's nothing wrong with him. He's fine.
Right.
I
can't tell you the number of times where kids gets put on medication.
Mm-hmm.
They feel fine, and the mom or parent or grandmother would say, "Oh, they feel fine. We don't need it anymore." Like, no, the medication is what's making them feel better. So that's why they're fine. And so they get off the medication and they end up right back in here.
And when you brought up medication, that's the part that a lot of people is their point. I'm not putting them on drugs. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. Well, then seek help for him to sit down without being on drugs, because sometimes there's an eye-opening moment where they realize what they did, and they got to be held accountable for it.
Correct.
Accountability is the part we're not holding these kids to.
Right.
We're patting them on the back saying, "Oh, that's okay. That's okay." And
we got to tell these kids, regardless of what you've gone through, regardless of the issues that you face, there's still consequences to your behaviors. And so if you're not going to take your meds, you have to figure out a way that when you are triggered, how to address that trigger and not commit crimes or hurt anybody.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's hard.
Well, one thing with the 100 Black Men, I was listening to stuff that they do and everything. I was listening to everything, and that is a problem. We have to have men out there teaching these kids, because they have the mama figure, and I really hate saying that, but the mom can only teach them so much about being a man.
Right.
And the man is not in the life of some of these kids. I was blessed. I had both parents in my life.
Okay.
So I was blessed there. And I learned from both sides. Even though at the time I didn't want to hear them, I was young. Right. I was smarter than they was. What's the old saying? Somebody said, I thought I knew everything when I was younger. It was something somebody said, but now I'm grown up and I understand what my parents was talking about.
Right.
But the lack of men in these kids' life, do you know how many lives would be changed if a father figure was in these kids' life?
Yeah. We can talk about roles and all that stuff, and people have different perspectives, but at the same time, we need men in each other's lives. It's just can't get any more clearer than that. Yeah, I mean, and it's also the right man. You know, if you have individuals out there doing bad stuff, then maybe, not so much. But you definitely need that male role model, and not just coming in once a week. It has to be consistent, ongoing. Male teachers, male neighbors, someone that can be turned to when just for advice or just have a conversation. Because we think differently and we talk differently. And so the way we relate to one another as men is different than a woman can understand or be able to implement.
Yeah, yeah. I remember what's a class I took? Social skills. I tell this story all the time. Um, I took social skills and I didn't realize what I was missing when they gave that to me. Because yeah, when I have something to say or somebody say something to me and I respond back, ooh, on emotion
Right.
and everything.
Right.
But they taught us when somebody say something, don't react. Take your time out and respond.
Yes.
And that was a hard feat for me to do. But over the years, I learned and I knew what they were talking about. Because if you respond, people will listen to you more clearly. Because if you react and yelling, they're going to shut down right away.
Right.
And getting this will segue into the juvenile. If they have a parent that's always yelling at them all the time, they're not going to listen. They're going to shut down. I'm not saying that we should treat them like goody two shoes, but speaking to the young men and women out there right now, and they have a lot to say. They have a lot to offer. So sometimes we need to sit back and listen to them.
Absolutely. And I think it's even more important is listening, is that we have to listen, not to respond, but we just have to listen. Oftentimes we listen ready to react or to respond, like you were saying. Let's just sit back and listen without a response and see what they have to say. Yeah, you're absolutely right, man.
Because sometimes kids want to talk to you. They don't want you to fix anything. They just want you to hear them out.
Right. Yeah.
And then if you hear them out, listening to them, you can see what they're trying to tell you. If you know your kids, you will see what they're trying to say. Don't sum it up. Let it get it off the chest. Maybe a couple days later, talk to them again. I heard you was talking about. I heard you, and then but somebody want to have that talk over in 1 hour and wash their hands, and that's it. Sometimes it takes days for you to formulate what they were trying to tell you, because they're trying to tell you something when they talk to you. So parents, we need to listen to our kids sometimes.
We also have to understand that if you have multiple kids, the same technique isn't working all your children.
Right.
Some you can be aggressive with, some you can't. Some are sensitive, some are not so sensitive. So you know your kids. And so when you discipline or you speak with your kids, you should know how and what's going to get through to them to make sure that they stay on that right path.
Hey, especially you said different kids, especially if it's a girl or boy, you can't treat them both the same, because you're going to have a war in that house. You love me better than I do. You love me more. That whole thing. Then you got friction going on, but that's kids, So right. You got to be, what's the word I'm looking for? You got to be equal, but yet you have to be stern.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
stand behind your word. What you're going to say, you got to do every time.
Oh, yeah, because kids will come back. Well, you said this. Ooh, I did, didn't I? Kids will hold you accountable, but they don't want you to hold them accountable. It's like a double-edged sword. And then when you throw something back in their face, well, I thought you forgot about that. No, I remember you burned down the shed.
Right, yeah. And you're going to build it back up.
Yeah, and you get them out there. I remember one time my kids thought they were slick. They would empty the dishwasher. That was their job. So one day I reached up in the cabinet. It was dirty dishes up in there. So I thought about what I was going to do to them. Should I yell at them? Should I punish them? What should I do? So I took another approach. I got up Saturday morning. I cooked a nice breakfast for them and everything. Thank you, Dad. Thank you, Dad. I said, you're welcome. I said, so this is what we're going to do. The other day, I went up in the cabinet. It was dirty dishes up there. So I'm going old school on y'all. Everything comes out the cabinet. Everything is washed by hand and dried and put back up in its place.
Right, right. Yeah,
It may have took them all day, but we never had a dirty dish after
never
that.
again.
So I just went on and did that. And I tell that story to somebody, I said, I never would have thought of that.
Right.
That's what I did to my kids. I showed them love. I showed them tough love. And
Uh-huh.
I'm not saying I'm the greatest dad in the world, but with the resources I had, I did what I could do.
And that's all you can do. That's all you can do. And apparently you did a great job. You raised three successful children. So yeah, you did what you had to do.
Yeah, they get mad at me when I tell them I got a bill for them for raising $1.2 million for each of them.
There you
So
go.
I shouldn't have to work the rest of my life, but that didn't work.
Yeah. That debt is owed.
Yeah. So the 100 Black Men, when you got involved with that, um, what were you doing with 100 Black Men? Were you mentoring or what?
So I did a lot more speaking engagements. I was in private practice at the time. And so I was just doing speaking engagements at the YMCA, at different schools. Just, whenever they needed me, I was there. And so it just kind of grew from there. And even to this day, they need me for something, I'm there. My positions have changed from early on till now, but at the same time, my number hasn't. So they know, shoot me a text, give me a call, I'll be there. When I was on city council, the same thing. Now that I'm on the bench, the same thing. So just trying to be, like I said, these guys need to see someone who looks like them and what we're doing, and that we can do a lot um, other than just play sports. We
Yes.
do amazing things, but we have to be able to see ourselves as somebody else. And I think that's really important.
Yeah, because they see what you're doing. They say, oh, wow, we have a
Right.
Black judge.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, we do.
Powerful.
And,
Yeah,
and,
it's
and
powerful.
what's the old saying? A picture is worth 1,000 words.
Right. Yeah.
If they see you out there, they say, wow, I could do that too. Yes, you can.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And you can take your hits, you can have your failures, but you just keep getting up, and you have to be able to tell that story to realize that it's not gonna be easy,
Yeah.
but with the persistence and the goal setting, I mean, you can accomplish whatever you want to.
You said a key word to tell your story, because a lot of the youth out there are thinking, oh, you just became a judge. You don't know what it takes to struggle. But
Right.
when you break down and tell them the story on how you was here to there,
Right.
it wasn't a snap of
Wasn't even
here
close.
for that. It was you had to work hard to do what you want to do.
And I
And
had to fail too. And
yeah,
that's the key thing. We're scared of failure. And some folks are scared of success, but we have to fail. And it's not, we shouldn't call it failure. We should miss the mark or call it something different. But we have to, what call it failure. We have to experience that, know what it feels like, and then bounce back from that. Get that callus on your hand of that failure so it makes your hand stronger.
yeah. I use another analogy. You said I was using the word failure, then I used the word goals. I said,
Mm-hmm.
do not, if you have a goal set that's too high for you and you don't reach it, don't give up. Scale back on that goal and
Right.
make something that you can reach every quarter
Yeah.
and build up to the goal that you want to be at. Because
Right.
one professor told me years of wandering is years gathering experience.
Yes.
And
Yeah. Yes.
and he said all experience is not good and all experience is not bad, but you learning every day you walk and experience. Because if you do something that wasn't good, oh, he said you're gonna put that in your memory bank and you won't do that again.
You won't do it again.
So, but yeah, he was a very wise professor that told me that, and he's right about that because every day we walk, and the next day it was the experience you did yesterday. So what
Yeah.
can you do to make that better? Or what can you do not to do that again?
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, but yeah, I tell you, it's something else out there. And now, back when we were growing up, the way news is right now is so instant.
Yes.
I read a post the other day that said we do not have Wi-Fi service here. Go back to 1995 when there was no internet. You talked
Right.
to each other.
Talk to each other.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that's the problem. Right now, I can tell you, I text, but I don't like texting. The reason why I said it, if I'm texting back and forth to somebody for 15 minutes, a 5-minute phone call would take care of that.
Yeah. So
You,
I don't read long text. If your text messages are more than 5 sentences, I'm gonna call you. I'm not reading that.
yeah,
Not reading that because we have a conversation.
yeah, I feel the same way because my kids would text me and I pick up the phone. Why you call? Read my text. I'd rather talk to you.
Right.
I don't
My
know.
text is short. Okay. Yes.
Okay.
No. On my way. Real brief stuff. I'm not
Yeah.
getting long sentences.
Okay. So before we close everything out, have to ask you,
Mhm.
what are your goals and plans? You were just re-elected.
Correct.
So what are your goals and plans for you? What do you plan on being a judge in your office right now? What do you like to see that happen in the future?
We'll probably continue to do what we've been doing in the past with some of the judges, focusing on our specialty courts and with me working with young men who pick up certain offenses, working on with young men on managing aggression. So that's really big because that aggression can kind of lead you astray really quickly to make a decision that you may not be able to come back from. So just focus on that. Make sure this court is a community court. I'm here to serve, here to work, and hopefully save some of these lives. But like I said before, at the same time, there's accountability. And I want these kids to know that if you commit a crime and you come in front of this courtroom, I'm going to hold you accountable. And I'll give you an opportunity for making a bad decision or a bad choice. But I'm not going to give you an excuse.
Yeah.
So you owe a debt, you're going to pay this debt and hopefully get you back in the right track. If not, I got to do what I got to do. Whether it's lock you up or send you somewhere else, I will do that. I don't like to, but like I said, I got to keep folks safe.
Do you let's say a parent want to bring their kid to your courtroom? Do you allow people to
Yeah.
come and watch?
Yep.
You,
All
you,
the time. And I'll even talk to them. I'll even talk to them.
Mhm.
I have certain church groups will come by because I talk to a lot of folks and they don't understand what we do here. And it's hard to put into words because I guess we're jaded because we see it every day. It doesn't shock us.
Mhm.
But when someone comes from the outside who's never been here and they see and hear the stories that we hear, like, wow, what can we do in our community to help these kids not come down to juvenile? And so it kind of shocks that soul, that conscience, and motivated to really do a lot of work in their churches, their communities, and their schools.
Yeah, I think that'd be brilliant. If a parent kid is going down the wrong path and just bring them in there and sit down in your courtroom and see what goes on. Maybe that'll jar that little
Yeah,
as my friend would say, that'll jar that knucklehead for not doing that again.
hopefully, and if they do, well, then you knew the possible consequences. So you got to come on down. Now you got to pay, and you won't win. You'll never win.
Mm. Do you have any parents that contact you? Want to know? Can you talk to my kids?
Yeah, all the time.
Mhm.
I have parents. I have pastors. Like I did my swearing in last week, and I did it at a school. I did it at Camelot Elementary School.
Okay.
I need these kids to see me swear in. And I talked to them briefly, but yeah, all the time. I love being out in the community. I love it. But like I said, I need to be here. I need to be here.
Yeah, man, we're looking forward for you to come over to our station when we get it all fixed up and
Let me
done
know. Let
and
me know.
and all that because I'm trying to join as much as I can, but as Sandra explained to me, you can't do everything, but I'm
Right.
always wanting to get out there and do some pick and choose where you want to be at.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
because it can get overwhelming. It can get
yeah,
overwhelming.
it can. So I am doing that right now, picking and choosing the things because I didn't realize that a lot of kids and a lot of parents, our color, has been tuning in and watching the interviews that I do. I didn't
Good.
realize that until it hit me the other day. I was talking somewhere and somebody came around the corner and said, I know that voice.
Right.
And around the corner and they looked at me. So you're Ron? I said, yes. Oh, I listened to you. I love your interview. And it dawned on me because I'm looking at this. This is fun for me to do what I'm doing.
Right. It's
Getting out, doing things
not
for the
working, right?
community. This is fun. And
Right.
they said we got to put a face with it, but and that meant a lot. So that means I want to touch people like that.
Good, man. Well, you're doing an amazing job, man. Just keep it up. Keep it up.
Yeah.
We need you out there in these communities.
And then we got Sandra.
Uh-huh.
She is 100 miles an hour every day,
I can only imagine.
nonstop. And then we got Cheryl and we got Sharon. So I got a staff right there that keeps me in tune. If I said something wrong right now, I can look over to the screen and there's it, Ron, and they'll correct me.
Right. They give you that look.
Oh yeah. No,
Yeah.
they shoot rockets at me. It's a little thing. They throw rocks at me. So
okay.
But anyway, Honorable Judge Shaw, we appreciate taking the time out coming on the show.
Yes,
and
sir.
I'm one of these days I'm gonna pop up down there at your courtroom and sit back and watch firsthand on what's going on, because those are things I like doing, so I can report back to the community on what's going on and all. Because I talked to a couple of judges already, Judge Floyd, Judge Alvarez. So, yeah, and they got their hands full too.
Yeah, we all do. We all do.
So, before I let you go, at the end of the day, with everything that goes on, how do you separate going home away from being a judge, or is it always on your mind? Because Joseph Lee says sometimes we got to separate our business from going home. When you walk in the door, the business stays out there. How do you go about doing that?
I pray. I pray when I come in. I pray when I leave.
Okay.
So it settles my mind and gets me ready for my next hat that I wear as being a husband and a father. And so that's just as important as anything else. And so I need to be able to go into my home with a clear mind, clear conscience to take that role on.
Oh man, you said the same thing. Our bishops say every Sunday for releases with clear minds, and then they go ahead and get the benediction and we walk on out. I mean, that's beautiful for what you're doing. That's well said, sir.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it.
Okay. Judge Shaw, appreciate you coming on board, and we'll talk to you later.
Yes, sir. Take care. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Okay, bye.